effect we're going to talk about on the Arturia MiniFreak is the 3-band EQ. And I got to say, I kind of wish every synthesizer just naturally had one of these in the signal chain. I mean, really, honestly, every synth should. And the reason why, okay, so many people have been like, oh, I wish my synth had these effects or an equalizer or whatever. And I've always had the smug, jerkish response. Well, you know, if you knew how to do synthesis, then you wouldn't have to worry about that. But that's not entirely true. And a lot of times it's true on really great gigantor synths, but not so much on smaller, more economy synths where it's harder to achieve things. Basically what I meant was the whole point of synthesis is that you need to be able to not only create the timbre, but create the various harmonics present in the timbre that you desire through synthesis. And that's a valid premise. However, a lot of synthesizers just don't have the capability of giving you the range of equalization that you would want simply by its own oscillators, tricks, or filters. So I think this would be a great addition to any synthesizer. And the fact that it exists on this one, and it's not only your only effect, you know, you can use it and still be able to have delay or, you know, flange or whatever. So it really is a way that you can get this into the signal path. And it's a quick way to take like a straightforward sawtooth, like I'm about to play, and make it sound like you want it to sound, you know, because you can only work with the frequencies that exist, for example, in your sawtooth wave. You know, making it have more bass response is not always easy or even possible with a synthesizer. So you're kind of stuck with your root waveforms in your oscillator. But, and a lot of times synthesizers that people are like, oh, this is such a great sounding synthesizer. The reason why is because they have put in built-in equalization so that they could take their boring sawtooth and amp up the bass so it sounds like it's really bass heavy. And then you're like, oh, wow, this, you know, this is fat, which, yeah, I mean, that is part of it, but that's not all of it. Anyway, so you have the ability at any time to shape the harmonic content of your sound at the end. So you may have created the coolest sound in the world, but it doesn't have as much bass as you wish it did, or it's not mid-rangey enough. And now you basically have the chance. So after this 15-minute prologue, let's hear some of the sounds. Okay, I have it set to 3 bands EQ, and it's super simple. Once you get in here, these are the 3 bands. So bass, middle, and treble. So we have the sound, which, you know, this is just a sawtooth, and it's got bass in it. You'd be happy with this bass. If you had some other synth, a synth from 1977, this is as bassy as you could get with the thing, unless it had a high pass filter with resonance. So, you know, here you go. You could say the MiniFreak sounds good. It has a decent bass, but we could start messing with that. Okay, all of these are set at 0, so you can actually not only boost, but also attenuate, like if we wanted less bass. Now that bass is not so intrusive, or we can definitely boost it back up. Now, if I had just turned on this synth and I heard this sawtooth wave, you know, I don't have an oscilloscope on it, so I can't tell what kind of saw this is, but it sounds like a saw, and it sounds like it's got a big low end, and that's great. And that's as much as it takes sometimes for a person to think that a synth is really great. It's like, wow, it's really full sounding, and all it is equalization. So now if we go back to 0, comparatively, it sounds kind of like anemic now. Now we've ruined our whole perception of the sawtooth. But we can boost up the mid-range too. Once you've got that clav sound that you're really excited about, and you've run out of all your filtering and other options, you have one more option to shape the timbre of the output from the synthesizer. That's just really convenient. Or like you can do this and let's take the mid-range out. in many ways, this is synthesis in itself. The things you're doing to this sawtooth are the same things that you'd be doing with a filter. If you just had a straight sawtooth running out, you were messing with the filter. So like you've got your own kind of synthesis going on in this one single effect. Just made it super bright by jacking up the third band, the high band. Or sometimes when you've got like all kinds of crazy stuff going on, you've got some oscillator that's making really grating high range, sounds, sizzles and stuff that you don't want, but you want all the other timbre. Here, just come in here, choose this effect, and then take the high end completely off. So that is incredibly useful. I use this when I make sounds on here all the time. In fact, I almost rely on it now. I pretty much think of it as like there's 2 effects and then the 3 band, so I can really shape the sounds I want. But we're not even done because there are some subtypes in this one. So let us see the first subtype. Okay, we're on default. Now wide. What's wide sound like? If you don't remember, we have subtypes for some of these effects. Simply by holding the shift and turning the type knob, you can get different types of this same effect. So there are several different 3-band filters. Now we're on one called wide. Let's hear how it sounds. Seems more subtle to me. Okay, I don't hear anything happening in the bass at all. I guess I do. Maybe it's just happening lower than the frequency range of my ears. It seems like the bands are more broad is what's really happening, although I still don't hear the sort of giant bass widening that I would like to on the bass. Anyway, so let's get those back to 0 and we'll try the other subtype. Okay, this one's called mid 1K, and I wonder if it's just that the mid-range is shifted to a specific band, or I guess we'll find out. Okay, we can definitely hear the bass going away this time. I'm playing only like 80s chords today. 80s chord progressions. Okay, so that's a big bass boost. I wonder if that mid-range is just at a different band, but it sounds cool. I turned on the sequencer. And keep in mind, I haven't mentioned this yet, with voltage controlling these individual knobs. Okay, here's something that you don't even think about. we're calling this a 3-band EQ, but do you know what else this is? This is a 3-band filter that with voltage control, you can be controlling the harmonic content of your sound like a typical filter, but with much greater diversity. In fact, come to think of it, you could be doing the equivalent of a resonator here by voltage controlling the 3 different things independently at the same time and creating movement with 2 knobs moving together and one knob moving downward. I mean, you can do all kinds of really amazing things with this particular effect and get filtering outcomes that you simply could not get anywhere else. This is really cool in that way. I used to have a Korg PS3100 that had a resonator on it, and that was the whole thing for me. Like being able to instantly like voltage control a 3-band equalizer, which is what the resonator basically was. Although, I mean, since this spikes up, it doesn't really have resonance, but you know, it does get louder and quieter, and you've got these 3 bands of a particular shape. So yeah, voltage controlling these 3 things independently, you could get some really, really cool sounds, including kind of your own phase effect. So yeah, the 3-band setting on the effects to me is something really, really special. And I would encourage you to explore it because that is fantastic. I'm excited about it. I should have spent more time with this. I didn't even come up with this idea. Anyway, that is the 3-band equalizer found in the effects section of the Arturia MiniFreak.